Whole story about a detective, a cheating husband, but is that really the case? And a skirmish with the cartel and a fight for survival. Mrs. Thompson paid me $3,000 to follow her husband. He's always late from work, she said. Texts at odd hours. Classic cheating spouse case, or so I thought. Night 1. He left his accounting job, drove to a motel. I snapped photos until I saw the man he met, a known drug cartel lieutenant. And the briefcase he handed over, full of cash. That's when the lights went out, and someone grabbed me from behind. I woke up here. Mr. Thompson stood over me, but he wasn't alone. DEA badges flashed. "You blew my cover," he hissed. For 6 months he'd infiltrated the cartel. His late nights, dead drops. His secret texts, encrypted updates. But now the cartel's onto him, and his wife. "They'll kill her if they think she knows," he said. Then his phone buzzed. A message. "We have her." And a photo of Mrs. Thompson tied up in their own home. They took her because of me, because I followed him. Now the DEA's hands are tied, so it's just us. Thompson gave me a gun, a name, a location. Lucas Vega, abandoned refinery, midnight. I've got no backup, no plan, just rage. Because this isn't about money anymore. It's about a wife who loved her husband, and a lie that might get her killed. 23:57, 3 minutes left. God help us. We pulled up to the refinery gates at 11:58 p.m., 2 minutes to midnight. The place looked like a rotting skeleton, rusted pipes, shattered windows, weeds clawing through concrete. Thompson tossed me a flashlight and a .45. "Stay behind me," he said. But I'd seen his hands shake. This wasn't the DEA playbook anymore. This was personal. We slipped through a crack in the fence. The air smelled like gasoline and something worse. Decay. My boots crunched over broken glass. Then a voice crackled over a walkie-talkie somewhere. "Donde están?" Spanish. "Cartel." Thompson froze. "They're here," he whispered. "And they're waiting. We found her in the old control room. Mrs. Thompson, tied to a chair, gagged, her mascara streaked down her cheeks. She looked up, and for a second I saw relief. Then terror, because behind us, the door slammed shut. Lucas Vega stepped out of the shadows, mid-40s, scar down his neck, holding a machete like it was a toothpick. "Hola, detective," he grinned. "You brought me 2 for the price of 1. Thompson raised his gun, but Vega just laughed. "Shoot me, and my men outside burn this place with your wife in it." That's when I noticed the gas cans, dozens of them stacked against the walls. Vega wanted a trade. The DEA files Thompson had stolen for his wife. Thompson tossed a USB drive. "Let her go." Vega plugged it into a laptop, nodded, then shot Thompson in the leg. Mrs. Thompson screamed through her gag. I lunged for Vega, but his men yanked me back. "Silly gringo," he spat. "You think this is about files? This is about respect. Your boy here," he kicked Thompson, "humiliated me. Now I humiliate him." He pressed the machete to Mrs. Thompson's throat. "Beg, policia. Beg for her life." Thompson was bleeding out, pale, but he locked eyes with his wife. "I'm sorry," he choked. "I thought I was protecting you." She shook her head, crying. Then, in one move, she bit Vega's hand. Chaos. Vega dropped the machete. I headbutted the guard behind me, grabbed the .45, and fired. 2 shots. Vega's men dropped. Vega himself bolted. Typical coward. We untied Mrs. Thompson. "We need to go, now," I said. But Thompson wasn't moving. "Take her," he ordered. "I'll cover you." We ran. The refinery exploded behind us. Vega's men torched it. Flames licked the sky as we dove into my car. Mrs. Thompson sobbed. "He's dead. He's dead because of me." I didn't have the heart to tell her the truth. Thompson had whispered something to me as we dragged him up. The USB was fake. Real files are in our safe. Code, her birthday. We drove to their house. The safe was behind a family photo. Thompson smiling, arm around his wife, a lie frozen in time. Inside, names, dates, payments, Vega's entire network. But at the bottom, a note. "If you're reading this, I'm gone. Tell her I loved her. And detective, watch your back. They'll come for you next." Mrs. Thompson collapsed into a kitchen chair, staring at the papers. "Who was he?" she asked. I didn't answer. Because outside, a car idled. Black SUV, no plates. I handed her the gun. "Lock the doors." The SUV's engine growled. Two men dressed in black suits stepped out, Vega's twins, machetes glinting. I ducked behind the car as bullets peppered the porch. Mrs. Thompson fired wild, shattering a window. "Stay down!" I barked. One twin lunged. I cracked his jaw with the .45's grip. The other swung at me. Steel kissed my ribs. I staggered, fired blind. His scream echoed. Tires screeched. They fled. Blood soaked my shirt. Mrs. Thompson pressed a towel to the wound, hands steady now. "You're not dying here," she said. But the note in the safe, Thompson's handwriting. "If I'm gone, you need to know that the Vega's boss is..." The page ended. It was torn. Outside, sirens wailed. And a burner phone rang. I answered. Static. Then a voice, Thompson's voice, rasped. "Storage Unit 7B. Code. Her name." The line died. Mrs. Thompson froze. "That's impossible. The cops swarmed the house, but we already slipped out the back. At the storage unit, we found a dossier. Photos of a senator shaking hands with Vega. He's the real boss," Thompson had written. And a key to a safety deposit box in Belize. Mrs. Thompson pocketed it, face steel. "You taught me how to shoot. Now teach me how to disappear." As dawn broke, I watched her drive away. The burner rang again. "Thompson, keep her safe, or what's left of me dies." The sirens faded. But the game, it had just gone global.
Damn it. Gotta get to that window. Come on. Move it, sister.
Sister Catherine?
Darn.
Sister Catherine, I've forgotten my keys again. Can you open the gate for me?
Come on. Sam, hold up. Almost there. Sam?